It really is a beautiful model, I have to say. Heljan have tooled up for a wealth of different body side details. Hi there, a big hello to you. I hope I find you well. Welcome back to the channel. And I'm Jennifer Kirk, welcoming you up here to the loft on Weir Yard, where today we've been loaned a couple of the all-new Heljan Class 45s. Now these loaners have come from Rails of Sheffield and are actually the exclusive models that they commissioned from Heljan. Now there's 3 different retailers that I know of that have all commissioned their own exclusive versions, and today and tomorrow we're going to be looking at 2 sets of these from 2 different retailers. But today is the turn of Rails of Sheffield, and we've got a link in the description box down below where you can find these exclusive models as well as the rest of the full range. And we're also going to be doing a full DCC fitting guide for these. And one of the things that I've been really impressed by these models is actually they've got quite a few different lighting functions, and as you'll see in the review, there's one particular area where these lighting functions really do bring this model alive, and it's so great to see Heljan thinking amazingly laterally about what they can do to improve the user experience. And well, did they manage it? Come with me today in association with Trainomatic, makers of DCC decoders and accessories that are designed by enthusiasts for enthusiasts. Check out their full range from Tramfabrique here in the UK, and you can purchase them there too. Additional support comes from Rails of Sheffield. Sell to the name you know and trust. Buy, sell or exchange any age or any gauge. Call them now for the very best price. Check them out today at the link below. But I'm really excited to see these models finally coming through into the shops. But were they worth the wait? And are they enough of an upgrade over the previously available Class 45 models? Well, let's take a good close look. Heljan Class 45s have been making their way through to the shops over the last week or so, and this has included a number of different special editions that have been commissioned by retailers as exclusives to them. And today and tomorrow as well, we're going to take a good close look at 2 of the different shops' exclusive commissions. Today we're taking a look at those that Rails of Sheffield have commissioned, and they have very kindly loaned the channel a pair of their specials, and you can see here coming in the standard Heljan style box. So we've got 45305 as BR Blue Class 450, 45060 Sherwood Forester, and this includes 21-pin decoder socket, and we have an assortment of working lights, and we're going to be looking into that as we go through the review. The other model that they have very kindly loaned to the channel for us to take a good close look at is catalogue number 45106, and this is the BR Green Class 45 as D65 Grenadier Guardsman with small yellow panels, and again same 21-pin socket and an assortment of lighting functions. So I'm going to look at the green one first, and we do have a link in the description that takes you to Rails of Sheffield so that you can find these for yourself as well. And they are, as I said, exclusively available from Rails of Sheffield, along with the full range of the main range versions as well, which you'll also be able to find at that link. So we've got our little booklet here about the class, and it's always nice to see that we've got that brief class history. It's something that we never used to get with models, but I think it does add a little something. Of course, they've already done the research, so it's just a nice little touch. And these Class 45s were a development from the Class 44s, which in turn were a development from the the pilot locomotives, the 10,000 class, which were originally an LMS built locomotive. And in fact, interestingly enough, there is a project at Wirksworth to recreate number 10,000 from the LMS as a lost diesel type that is hopefully going to reappear in preservation. So really looking forward to that as well. They were nicknamed Peaks because the Class 44s that they were very similar to were all named after British mountains, although the Class 45s, a lot of them had regimental names. We've got a spare parts drawing list here, and I always like to show these because it does show just how many parts go into these models. And then we've got some information about DCC fitting, which again, really useful, how to get the body off. And then we've also got some additional details on the different functions. So it looks to me like we're going to need a 6-function 21-pin decoder, and I'm not sure whether they all need to be full power or whether we need a 4+2, but I will investigate that during the video. And if you're looking for information on DCC fitting, that will be towards the end of the video, in the final third. So I'm just going to get the model out. And these are review samples, so if you're wondering why the box looks a little bit bashed, it's just this has already done the rounds of the different magazines. Now there seems to be a magnet on a stick there, and this is alluding to some of the lighting functions being able to be turned on and off using magnetic dip switches. Let's get the model out. I will leave that little magnetic stick out. And initial impressions, I do actually quite like the BR green. My personal preference is for tops numbers, but the BR green I think really does suit so many of the diesel classes of locomotives, and these have quite an interesting variant on that. We've got the lower body side stripe, and this is really sharp and clear. There's no fuzziness on that at all, and it's straight and true. It looks to be exactly at the right place. And then we've also got the body side grills here, also in the same sort of cream, almost like a very light green. Those who are familiar with things like lathes and milling machines, it looks similar to the colour that a lot of those get painted in. But these body side grills really are wonderful. You can see the actual structure of the frame of the locomotive inside, and this all matches up to where it should be. So if you look at this patch, this kind of blanking plate there, it's riveted to that frame inside, and it does all line up. The rivet detail too is quite nicely done, and then you can see here on this body side grille, I'm not actually sure whether it's a separate etch over the top or whether that is actually just molded detail, but either way that is incredibly well done. I do like that. It's a very prominent feature of the prototype, and it's been captured really well on this. Now the handrails are plastic, they're very flush fitted. They do have a bit of a bend in them, but they are actually quite robust, unlike what we've seen from other manufacturers in the past, where these have been very prone to damage. It doesn't look to be prone on this model. Now the very large one-co bogies that these locomotives, the classes 44, 45 and 46 had, is realised really well. And one of the things as well which they have captured is the fact that this idler pony truck at the front has protruding ends of axles, just like on the prototype, and this is a very different approach to we've seen in previous models to the market, although it has to be said that by necessity for getting around train set curves, there is a lot of throw in the end of that axle, but you know, it's an interesting feature. We've also got the joggling of the frames at the front there to accommodate on the prototype the slightly larger swing of the front axles, and certainly that is replicated really well. Looking further back along the bogey sides, these very large slab-sided bogies are reproduced really well, and we've got a lot of detail on the axle box with the axle box covers picked out with the yellow and the red stripe, again reproduced incredibly well, including where the red stripe goes over raised detail. It has been done incredibly well. Bogey side steps as well are very robust. This is always an area where on a lot of models you find yourself gluing these back on from time to time, but these are well applied from the factory. Looking underneath, there's quite an interesting arrangement. You can see here that there's kind of a bogey within the bogey, so the actual side frames surround this, and it's got a degree of movement which allows it to follow the track if you've got undulating track, and certainly on gradients really well, without running the risk of the locomotive ending up balanced across certain wheels. We've got all-wheel drive on these bogies. All 6 of these are powered. With the front pony truck, it just kind of slides across in that mounting point, and then we've got a slimline NEM pocket just there in the front buffer beam. As per the prototype, all the coupling and the buffers are on the bogey, and we've got all of this really quite beautiful buffer beam detail here, ready applied to the model. I think it is factory applied. That is certainly what Heljan have done with other models. This is a review sample, so I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think these are all factory applied and certainly really nicely done based on previous releases, but you know, don't flame me if it turns out that it's not, but I think it is. We've also got these head code boxes with 3x40 on there, already factory applied, and some really nice sharp overhead warning flashes. The front face and bonnet shape do seem to have been captured really well. And then we've got that small yellow warning panel faithfully reproduced, including the marker lights also fully picked out in the yellow, even though they go just slightly outside of that area. The handrails on the front there are metal. Yeah, they're all metal, separately applied, as is the front lamp brackets. These are metal as well. There's a wealth of separately applied detail. Whilst we're here at this end, I'm just looking at that front tumble home on the cab. It's an area that's really difficult to get right. To my eye, it doesn't look too bad, but just get that up nice and close there so you can see exactly what the model looks like. And I'll let the people who know the peaks incredibly well be able to make their own decision on that. But that, to me, does look really good. I do also like the fact that the side window here is modelled in the down position, which serves a dual purpose of giving you a better view inside the cab, but also it means if you add a driver figure, then you can see them nice and clearly too. And there's some great figures on the market, and it is really a good opportunity to customize your locomotive. The grey on the roof is really nicely reproduced. I do like this kind of coarse grille that we've got above the fan. And I see some wires in there, just about see them going to the centre of the fan area. I don't think the fan spins, but certainly the fan itself is quite a nice, really well realised piece. The rest of the roof detail there's a lot of it. Of course, you're going to be looking at the roof of your model an awful lot as it runs round. Those separately applied roof panels there, again, really sublime detail. Moving further back, there's a lot of raised detail. And then we've got this roof port. It's finished in black, but you can actually see the bottom there. Moving further on, there's a lot of subtly applied separate pieces in here to really make up this quite complex roof detail. And we've got the cutouts at the front there, and again into the other end of the model, which has the head code 1E73, and again factory fitted buffer beam detail. Although one thing that does strike me on this is that actually, unlike a lot of other models, the buffer beam detail does seem to be able to be kept with the coupling by nature of the fact that the coupling fits there in the middle, and it's the Bogey that does a lot of the movement. So unlike some of the smaller Type 2 type diesels that Heljan have done that come factory fitted, these you can actually leave that detail by the look of it and still have functional couplings in place. We're going to turn now to the other model which Rails very kindly sent over for review, and just a reminder, we do have a link in the description box down below to help you find both these special commissions from Rails and the rest of the regular Heljan Class 45 range available to purchase if you like the look of the models shown in today's video. On this second model that they've sent over, and just a little bit more packaging just there, we've got the Rail Blue version with topped numbers, and again the Rail Blue is nicely applied. With these, the separate panels that we've got across here, again you can see that frame structure really greatly reproduced there, but these are finished in the Rail Blue, again as per the prototype. Other livery applications, again really sharp, and we've got the plated over footstep. It's kind of a ladder in the side. I'm just looking there. On this one actually they are open as per the prototype, and these got plated over later in life just to dissuade staff from climbing up there. I think that what we've also got plated over here are the water boiler fill ports, which when they moved over to electric train heat and away from steam heat, they were no longer necessary. They were plated over, and the steps were plated over as well, and that is correctly represented on this model. The bogies too, we haven't got the yellow axle box covers, and it means we can see all of that detail there. BR Timken is perfectly legible on the front of all of those bogies. It really is a beautiful model, I have to say. We've got the flush front there, and it's something that, just looking there, yeah, so we've got just the domino lights in the center, the two extra lights instead of the head code panels, and it just shows that Heljan have tooled up for a wealth of different body side details, and certainly in tomorrow's video we'll be looking at some other special commission Heljan 45s that bringing yet another detail variation, and really looking forward to that. The rest of the printing, 45060, is really sharply done along with that tops data panel, and I do particularly like this Sherwood Forester with the crest above it. It is really sharp. It's not an etched plate. I'm just going to quickly take a look. The detail bag that comes with the model, I'm just quickly looking in place. There is no other, you don't get any etches with it as far as I can see, but we do get a wealth of additional pipework detail ready coloured for the end user to apply. I'll leave those be because these are loaners, and I always get a bit edgy just digging around and gluing things when it's not my model. The underside of the models, again, we've got all main wheel drive, plus we've got these pony trucks at the front. They are actually sprung as well. There's a good deal of spring on those, so they're not going to beach your locomotive and leave it high and dry. For getting the body off, there are some body screws just down here. There's another one there, and up at the front we've also got screw there and there, but we will be delving into these models just to take a look at the DCC fitting. When it comes to DCC fitting, I'm going to be using the 21-pin decoder from Trainomatic, which are available in the UK through their UK stockists and agents Tram Fabrique, and you'll find details of them at the link down below. But what you do have to bear in mind is that you will need a 6-function decoder to be able to access all of the different lighting functions that this model offers. To get inside the model, it really is quite easy. Turning it over, there are just 4 screws to find, and if you slide the bogie to one side and then to the other And again at the other end, bogey to one side and to the other. Then it's simply a case of sliding the body off the chassis. There are no wires to worry about, so you can just lift that straight off the body and just move that out to one side. Inside we've got a really heavy chassis with the motor centrally mounted and driving each of the bogies through a cardan shaft with gear train in each of the bogies, which does provide for a very powerful and reliable model. We've also got here visible these amazing cabs. Look at the detail, all separately picked out. They really are lovely. And it's nice to see that Heljan took on board the criticism from the Class 25s, where they didn't provide separately switched cab lights. And indeed, the Class 45 does have these, and they really should show off in great detail this amazing cab interior. We've got a lot of separately applied pieces. It's a full height cab, so you don't need to amputate your crew figures below the knee to be able to get them to fit in. And it really is quite exquisite, the detail that is resplendent inside these Class 45 cabs. Of course, both cabs are exactly the same there. We've got a lot of detail. Driver's desk separately fitted out and picked out a detail there, and all will be nicely illuminated with these very simple but effective LED cab lights. There's an arrow on the PCB board, and this is actually just to signify which is the number 1 end of the locomotive. And what that means for you really is that when you set it up on your DCC controller to travel forwards, then that is the direction that the model should be going in. To get the blanking plate out, I tend to use a flat jeweler's screwdriver and then very carefully just lift up a little bit on each side. Don't just lever it from one side only, because you will bend all of the pins, and we can just lift that out. Be a little bit careful about applying pressure at this end of the circuit board, because it's just over nothing, and you don't want to risk snapping this piece of circuit board, because you will render your model inoperative and in need of some major surgery and repairs. Once we've got that clear, it's then a case of opening up the chosen decoder and then working out where our pin 21 is. Line that up with the headers, and then gently, with a slight rocking motion, just push it down. It honestly does not need a great amount of pressure. If you're having to really push hard, the chances are your pins are misaligned, and you're just likely to damage the pin headers, the decoder, and possibly even this circuit board too. We've also got a switch on top here, and I suspect that this is for DC running if you wish to turn off the cab lights so that they're not permanently on. However, on DCC we can control these from the decoder, so we leave that to the switched on position. There is plenty of space within the model to take a sound decoder and a speaker too, and plenty of room for that to be quite a large speaker if needs be. There's also plenty of room to fit a stay alive if you want to as well. And there are sound fitted options available from the factory of these models, both from the main range and from the special commissions, and they can be found at the link down below. Now it's just simply a case of sliding the body back onto the chassis. Make sure it goes down all the way. Once you get the body slid down, it's simply a case of retightening up those 4 screws, and then it's off to the programming track, where by default the locomotive is number 3 if it's a brand new decoder, and we can change that to whatever number fits with your layout's numbering system. On the track, the speed pickup is nice and smooth, and you can see there straight out of the box with no CVs needing to be changed. We've got a prototypically smooth pickup and there is no sign of jerkiness. Again, moving it back the other way on just slow speed steps. The locomotive is responsive and seems to work perfectly fine. Looking to the light functions, if we press the headlight button, we get headlights front and back, which swap with the direction of the locomotive. If we want marker lights, these are available on F3 and F4. Of course, these will only be used when the locomotive is running light locomotive, so it's nice to see that we have the option to turn them on and off separately. On F1 and F2, the end marker lights are available to be turned on permanently regardless of direction of travel. On F5 and F6, we've got those cab lights. These are really quite bright, and even under the really bright studio lights that we've got here, you can see that it really shows off to an amazing advantage those thoroughly detailed cab interiors. Looking to the other end of the model, again independently switchable, and everything works as it should. This particular decoder is a 4+2. That means 4 full power auxiliary outputs plus 2 logic level, and that is the type of decoder that you need to be able to get this model to function all of the lighting options. The magnetic wand that is included in the package is used for turning cab lights on and off, and this will also work on DC and provides an interesting alternative for those who want to have cab lights either on or off very, very easily and readily, but don't necessarily use DCC. It does not appear to affect the marker lights at all. It is just for the cab lights. Running performance was really good, with the locomotive handling all that Weir could throw at it, including some quite complex track work and double slips from Pico as well. There was no sign of any problems with derailment, and the locomotive was incredibly sure-footed. I had it on a test train of 10 Mark 1s from Bankman, and it hauled these almost as if they weren't even there. And it was quite clear that with this 6-wheel drive and 6-wheel pickup arrangement that Heljan have, that this model will probably outperform what the couplings on the coaches can cope with before wheel slip is induced. It really is quite a heavy chassis, and it goes a long way to make this an incredible performer on the track. With all those different lighting functions, and in addition the magnetically operated switches for the cab lights, I really like this ingenuity that Heljan has brought to the model that allow DC users to also enjoy the cab lighting without having to resort to lifting the locomotive up to access switches underneath. And this seems to be a really interesting function which I'd like to see lots of manufacturers make more use of in the future. Overall, the performance of these models was really good. I like the fact that there's still plenty of space inside them for the user to add stay alives, and also large speaker arrays if you wish to add your own sound in, although as said before in the review, there are factory fitted sound options available. I'd also like to thank Rails of Sheffield for loaning these 2 exclusive models from the Class 45 range that they carry to the channel so that we could have a good close look at them, and certainly these are a great improvement over the models that we've had in the past. It's a great effort by Heljan. For me, the highlights of this model include those body side grills that really show off the internal structure of the real Class 45 peaks, and those cabs that are exquisitely detailed with so many different separate passes of colour to really make the backhead detail stand out. With those cab lights that show this off to a really great extent, it is a winning combination. And add to that the nice little touch of the magnetic wand. This is definitely a model which I can recommend here on the channel. Well, I hope you really found today's video informative, and don't forget that you can find the 2 Rails exclusive models that we reviewed today that were loaned from Rails of Sheffield, plus the rest of the full range of the Heljan 45s available at the link down below. These models are available at an RRP of £160 for the regular range versions, and the 2 special commissions from Rails of Sheffield are available at £169, so it's a great deal for an exclusive model. You can also find a link to our merch store where you can find all of the great hoodies, t-shirts, mugs, stickers and such like, and it's a great way of supporting the channel and getting something amazing for it too. And of course we're getting ever closer to Christmas, so it's a perfect opportunity either to buy someone you love who you know watches the channel, or maybe ask for something for yourself. For those people who may be wondering what to get you for a gift, there's some great options down there in the merch store. But until next time, you take great care of yourself. Happy modelling. Bye for now. Today's video comes in association with Trainomatic, makers of DCC decoders and accessories that are designed by enthusiasts for enthusiasts. Find the full range available to order now at tramfabrique.co.uk. Additional support comes from Rails of Sheffield. Sell to the name you know and trust. Family-run business purchasing collections for over 50 years. From single items to lifetime collections. No collection is too small or too big. Buy, sell or exchange, any age or any gauge. Rails will take everything: locos, coaches, wagons, track work, controllers, accessories. In fact, they'll take absolutely everything and certainly will not cherry pick the best items. Rails are only a phone call away. Call them now for the very best price and get instant cash payment or same-day transfer. Check them out today at the link below. I'd like to send out a huge thanks to everybody who supports me on Patreon, and an extra special huge thanks goes out to Anthony Kidson, Offshore Allen, Michael Lockie, Helen Sink, Gary Lewis, David Quinn, Sparky 107107, George Botterini, Chris Moss, Robert Steers, Sam Yates, Dale Williams, John N from NC, NYMRish, Jonathan Foster, Peter, Clifford Ison, Larry W. Grant, NI Railways 4000 class, Ian Coulson, Alan Dickerson, Eddie Popper, Karen Nichol, Medwin Williams, Crossways Point Junction, 3B Rail, and Jennifer Horton. Thank you. Without you guys, I couldn't do this.